Alright, so in today's video, we're going to be comparing two inspired fragrances with a really popular niche fragrance. So the niche fragrance that we're comparing to the other inspirations is going to be Initio's Side Effect. And we're going to be comparing that with inspired fragrance that I've had for a while now. So After Effect from French Avenue, as well as a newer offering from Paris Corner, which is Farah. All right, so I'm gonna go over the presentation of Farah. I'm not gonna do that with this one because, again, I've mentioned this fragrance several times and gone over that on the channel. But as far as the presentation goes for Farah, you have what basically it looks like the same sort of kind of design scheme and color scheme. So purple and gold. You've got like the Farah logo here on the front. Paris Corner, this is an extrait de parfum, and this is a 100 ml bottle. I believe the French Avenue, is an 80 ml bottle. All right, so you have Farah on the front there. You've got the Paris Corner logo on the top. Nothing really on the sides. And on the back, you've got like a QR code as well as the authenticity sticker. And on the bottom, you have like the barcode, production date, ingredients, stuff like that. All right. So this fragrance, this was manufactured in September of last year, actually. So this has actually been out for quite a while now. And then this opens up like that. All right, and you've got the bottle here. Okay, so I do like the way that this bottle looks a little bit more than I do the French Avenue bottle. All right, this is like a slightly lighter sort of color, or a slightly lighter purple than what the French Avenue is. But I really do like this one a lot. Feels pretty good in the hand as well. You've got Paris Corner logo on the top of the cap, Paris Corner sticker on the bottom, nothing on the back of the bottle. And I believe this is pressurized. No, it's not pressurized, but it does actually shoot out a pretty decent amount of juice. It actually is a better sprayer, in my opinion, than what the After Effect is. All right. Now I'm gonna go over the notes of all three fragrances. So Side Effect, Farah, as well as the After Effect. So for Side Effect, there is no sort of like top, mid, or base note sort of breakdown. It's just you get rum, tobacco, cinnamon, saffron, sandalwood, and hedione in Side Effect. Now for Farah, this does have a top, base, or a top, middle, and base notes breakdown. So in the top notes of Farah, you get rum and saffron. In the mid, you get cinnamon and cedar. And then in the base, you get tobacco and vanilla. And then for After Effect has the same sort of breakdown, or the same layout anyway, as Side Effect. So you get rum, tobacco, cinnamon, sandalwood, saffron, and white flowers in After Effect. All right. Now, how do these two fragrances compare to the Initio Side Effect? For the longest time, this was definitely, my favorite interpretation of Initio Side Effect. I felt like out of all of the other Side Effect, inspired fragrances, this was definitely one of the best ones. The only other one that I think that I would say was better than this, in terms of like closeness of smell and quality, was Genre Perfume's version. I believe theirs is called like Upside Down or something, or that might be Alexandria's name for it. I can't remember what Genre's version is called, but that one was definitely like extremely close to Side Effect. It just didn't give me the same sort of projection. It was a very kind of soft, close to your skin, sort of projecting scent. but overall I felt like it was closer than, you know, what the after effect was. And so now we have this one, Farah, and Farah, at least to me anyway, it seems to be, you know, the best Middle Eastern, you know, interpretation of side effect, you know, so far. Smelling the three side by side, so I mean, I've got side effect on this one here, I've got Farah on this one, and then I have the after effect on this one. When you first spray the three on, I would say that the rum note that you get from side effect does seem to smell the highest quality. I would say that the Farah definitely comes in like a close second for sure. It's in terms of like how close it gets to the opening. To me, Farah is probably about 93% or so close to the opening of Initio side effect. I definitely get the boozy rum note from Farah, but it seems to be a little less rich than what it is in Initio side effect. But again, very, very minimal, very minimal. As for the after effect to me, when you first spray this on, like, you do get a little bit of booziness, but at least to my nose anyway, I smell a lot more sort of spiciness from the after effect than, you know, booziness. I mean, it's there in the after effect, but to me, it's not as much of an emphasis, you know, as what it is in the Farah or even, you know, the original side effect. Now, as the fragrances start to kind of dry down, I feel like, again, the after effect definitely, it leans more into like the sort of spicier aspect of side effect. And side effect, you know, especially once you kind of get to like the mid or so, it does have like this sort of almost kind of like cumin spice sort of smell almost. And I feel like that's really, really emphasized in after effect for sure. You definitely get a lot more of that almost kind of like cumin spice sort of smell from after effect than what you do from side effect or Farah. It's there a little bit in Farah, but not nearly as much as what it is in after effect. And to me, in side effect, it's also still slightly there. And I would even say, really, it's maybe there a little bit more in side effect than what it is in Farah. But it smells a lot more sort of well blended or well balanced in side effect. So it doesn't exactly come across the same way that it does in after effect. But yeah, man, overall, I would say, you know, for sure that Farah is, and I've mentioned this before in previous videos, Farah seems to be the most balanced, you know, interpretation of this sort of scent profile. So I feel like with Farah, I don't get any more sort of spiciness or booziness or tobacco over anything else. This seems to be like a very, very sort of linear type of scent that doesn't change as much as, you know, what side effect or even after effect does. It's just a very nice balance of, again, that rum note, the sort of, you know, spices, the tobacco, and I would say the slightly sort of woodiness that you get from after effect as well, or from side effect, I'm sorry. So while Farah is not like a one-to-one to side effect, I do really feel like this is definitely my favorite version of the scent profile. because of how balanced everything is. And this also does have, a richness to it, and I would say a higher quality smell than what the after effect does. The after effect, to me, I feel like if you spray the after effect too many times, you will kind of run into like that cumin sort of spice smell, and that will probably kind of overtake the rest of the fragrance. Whereas I don't get that same vibe from Farah. All right, so I would say if you're looking for the most balanced, one of the most affordable, and one of the more higher quality interpretations of Initio side effect, this to me, Farah is definitely one of the best ones for sure. Again, it's not exactly the same as side effect, but to me it is still extremely close to it. Yeah, I mean, the other difference that I noticed as well with Farah is in like the far dry down of side effect. To me, the tobacco note in side effect definitely stuck out a lot more than what it did in Farah. In Farah, you can definitely smell the tobacco for sure, but again, it's not like you smell more tobacco than you do spice, or more tobacco than you do booziness or anything like that. This, like I said, is just very, very balanced the whole way through. It's very much more kind of linear, in my opinion, than what side effect is, or even after effect. But it's still giving you, in my opinion, it's still giving you, for the most part, the same sort of experience, that you get with side effect, just with some slight little tweaks. And again, I prefer this a little bit more than Initio side effect. And definitely I prefer this over after effect for sure. Because it's just smoother, and it's more well balanced in my opinion. All right. So that is pretty much my take on like the smell comparison. Now, in terms of the performance with Farah, this is not going to, it's not going to project as sort of beastly or as loudly as what French Avenue's After Effect does. So After Effect to me is definitely the stronger fragrance in terms of the projection. This is definitely a fragrance that I've noticed, like, if I overspray this, it can kind of become headache inducing. Whereas with Farah, I can spray this probably 7 to 8 times or so, and it doesn't really become too much. Now, the projection is not like that much less than what it is with After Effect, but it is, slightly noticeable that like this doesn't project as sort of loudly as what After Effect does. In terms of like comparing the projection with Farah and side effect, to me, I would say maybe about 2 to 3% less than what it is with side effect. So I would say it's probably about 10% less projection than after effect, and then maybe about, like I said, about 2 to 3% less projection than side effect. But even though this doesn't project as beastly or as loudly as what side effect or after effect do, this still definitely has good longevity. All right, so the longevity on this is easily over 10 hours. Each time that I've worn this fragrance, so it definitely does last. And in terms of going back to like the projection, I would say the projection on After Effect is like well past the arm's length for like the first 2.5 hours or so. Whereas with Farah, this is going to be just, I would say maybe just under or at or right at like an arm's length or so for about, that first 1.5 to 2 hours. So, again, not like a huge difference, but, it is still a very good performing fragrance. All right. Now, as for the sort of closeness rating with this, overall, I would say this is about, I would give it like a good probably 93 to 95% close to side effect for the most part. Again, it is going to be a little bit more linear than side effect. In the opening, the rum note and side effect does smell a little bit more higher quality and a little bit more richer. And then, again, once you kind of get into like the heart of the fragrance, this has a little bit less of that sort of, cumin spice smell. And it balances the tobacco, in my opinion, a little bit better than what both, after effect as well as side effect do. So, if you're looking for a really, really well balanced, well blended, very rich, but yet at the same time, very affordable, interpretation of the scent profile, I think this is definitely the best one to, look at is Farah. All right. So that's my take on Farah from, Paris Corner. I did see a question in the comments about which one of these are sweeter. In my opinion, there is really no sweetness difference. Again, After Effect to me is definitely a lot spicier than what Farah is. And Farah is just more sort of well balanced in terms of the booziness, the spiciness, the tobacco, and the woodiness. All right, so that's my take on Farah. Definitely let me know in the comments if you all have gotten your nose on Farah. If so, how do you think this compares to Side Effect? And also, how do you think it compares to After Effect? Which one of these do you actually prefer? All right. Let me know in the comments below. I have links in the description to where you can purchase these fragrances. And if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see y'all in the next video.